Welcome, Rod Joseph and Deborah Poulalion. We are interviewing today for the Democratic primary in House District 36, which is in Seminole County. The winner of this district will face the winner of the Republican primary in November. And we are going to jump right into questions. I'm joined today by Scott Maxwell. I didn't know whether you wanted to have the first question, Scott, or if you wanted me to take it.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Well, it is going to be a pretty basic question. Should you win election in this district, you would most likely be a member of the minority party in the House. How can you effectively represent the residents of District 36 as a Democrat in a Republican-dominated legislature? And let's start with Mr. Joseph.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Scott. And Deborah, thank you for presence. As we know that we're a minority. Me, I'm a bridge builder. In the military, I'm the guy that's always filling the gap. I'm always the liaison that always bring people together. That's one reason I built my campaign on diversity, because I believe in collectivity work. It's not about party politics, because we cannot play politics with the need of people. That's one mistake a lot of people doing when they go to Tallahassee or they go to Washington, D.C. They forget why they were running and what they represent. So for the constitution, that's going to be put place above my own personal, because that's where I dedicated myself to serve that community. And the constitution, that's one thing I will not gamble over the needs of my district over anything, because compromising is a good word for diplomacy. As a major in diplomacy, I know compromising what it means. But when it comes to the needs, example for affordable housing, affordable healthcare, those are not points people should be politicized, because those are affecting lives. They're affecting people. They're affecting everybody. But for my constituent, I will be the best and the biggest advocate to make sure I reach out to the Red Party, to the Republicans. I will reach out to the independents if there's any, and to make sure we find a deal, not only for my district, but that will benefit all Floridians.
Thank you very much. Ms. Poulalion, if you could address the same issue.
Hi, thank you for that question. So the issue you're raising is that in the Florida House, the Democrats would likely be in the minority. How would we get anything done? And so I think about what I love about local politics, and especially the city governments, because a lot of times those are a mix of Democrats and Republicans, but the party isn't behind their name and they can get things done. And so I want to carry that to Tallahassee. I have friends who are representatives, and they talk about finding common ground with Republican on issues that should not be party, specific, and doing a joint bill or even letting them carry the bill forward, because what's most important is what helps the voter, not necessarily whose name gets who gets the credit. So that would be one of my strategies. I am a peaceful person. I can get along with anybody. I get along with a lot of the elected officials already in Seminole County. And so I just look forward to putting the voter first, whatever it takes.
Thank you very much. I'll pipe in, and I'm going to make this a little different for each of you. I spent some time looking at both of your websites and the issues that you all each listed as your priorities. And I wanted to ask you about one of the top ones that each of you listed. And I'll start with you, Ms. Poulalion. You had listed fight corruption as, I think, the #1 thing on your issues. That's something near and dear to a newspaper writer's heart, but I'm curious about, sometimes that's easier said than done. What specifically do you have in mind that you would do on that front as a legislator?
I'd like to enforce voting laws and campaign laws. we have, speaking to the point that the newspapers raised so well, issues with candidates who were on the edge of legality. And I think that as a state legislature, we shouldn't be silent. We should be speaking out against that. And we didn't hear that from our elected officials in Seminole County. So I think it's using your voice and enforcing laws that exist but don't seem to get enforced, especially around candidates.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Joseph, one of the things, I think your number 2 issue you had listed was immigration reform. A lot of people care about that issue. I don't typically hear much about that on the state level. That seems more of a federal issue. So I was kind of wondering what you had in mind as a legislator that you would do on that front.
Basically, Scott, I am the result of the proper immigration reform. I came here as a child, as a young man, joined the military, served, deployed, came back, have a degree, and I have a family. I got 2 of my sons that's currently serving in the Marines. We all immigrated from somewhere. So me, as an immigrant, I know what it's like to be marginalized. I know what it's like to be looked down upon. And one thing I can say for immigration reforms is one of my second points, because it's one of the things that most politicize from both parties. If we have people come into the state, instead of keeping them out, when they out, we don't give them any status. The status doesn't mean give them a green card, an ID, a social security. That's enough. The government can at least account for them people. But the moment you got 2-3 millions, it depends who's giving the shift. And then the numbers. And then you got 2-3 million people in one state. Nobody knows where they are. And they don't have any legal status, any ID to identify them, but they're still working under the table. The IRS still collecting those unclaimed tax by illegal workers. So if we can accept the taxes they're paying while they're working with a fake social security or under the pseudonym, we can identify those people. They can be productive for the community. Instead of making them a big scare, we embrace them while we secure our border, while we're making the restriction. Because one thing from Haiti firsthand, I can tell you, Haiti, the biggest ally is the United States.
Okay.
But we are suffered the most with the external political of the United States. So at the same time, I put my uniform. I risk my life to go fight for this country. I will do it over again.
Okay.
And my 2 sons do it. Yes.
Thank you for your service as well. Yes, sir.
Yes. This is the reason why you don't know how many what Joseph that the U.S. kick out. The system, because we don't have a reforms. I have masters in diplomacy, military studies. I have a Purple Heart.
If you don't mind, we're going to move on to the next topic, if that's all right.
Thank you. We hit our time.
I thought maybe I'd ask this one maybe is a short answer. I think abortion is almost certainly going to come up before the legislature now that Roe versus Wade. I want to try to ask everybody a pretty clear question. I wanted to know where you stand on terms of abortion and if you believe in choice, to what extent, and exceptions for rape and incest. We could start with you, Mr. Joseph.
For abortion, I will say it again. As a male, I have no say in the female choice. No man should have a choice to vote on what the female should and should not do. I will support every decision a female choose to do. Whether she have a conceived child in any way of life, she want to keep that child, she have my vote 100%. She want to have an abortion she don't need to explain to me why she need to get an abortion. That's not my business, because the moment you have the government start policing behaviors, we have a dictatorship or we have an autocracy. We don't want to play with that. We live in a democracy. The abortion politics, I'm out of it. I'm supporting every right for every female that decide to do with their body. Whatever choice they choose, they have my vote 100%. No politics with female body.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Ms. Poulalion?
Hi. So thank you for the question about abortion. I support state law to ensure access to abortion. I would like to go back to the previous guidelines up to 23 weeks. I also support over-the-counter contraceptives. And I was extremely disappointed that DeSantis vetoed public funding for long-term contraceptives. I think that's cruel and short-sighted. Floridians opposed overturning Roe v. Wade by about 57%, according to a polling in July. So I'd like Florida to join the 13 states who have protections for abortion.
Thank you very much. And thanks to both of you for the concise answers. I'll turn it over to Chris now.
Okay. Thank you very much. Starting probably next year, the voluminous flow of federal money that swelled Florida's budget to $110 billion is going to start drying up. How does Florida cope with that loss? And let's start with Ms. Poulalion.
How does Florida cope with the reduction in resources that they're going to have?
Yes.
Yes. Well, Florida lets a lot of large corporations make a lot of money here and not pay their taxes here. So I think they need to pay their fair share. I think also Florida is really, because we don't have a state income tax, but we rely on sales tax, the burden really goes heavily on people who have the least money. And that's a very, very long-term, goal and thought about Florida. But it's something that we need to keep in mind about how we're handling our income.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Joseph.
Yes, for that budget is a national crisis. We cannot ignore there's a recession. Whether we don't call it a recession, call it a blue elephant, a white elephant, a gray elephant, is an elephant. So now we have, like Ms. Deborah said, we have so many corporations that's making billions. For example, the oil industry just make the biggest profit in 6 months. They still don't pay no taxes. We have the revenue of the lottery that's supposed to be based on education. Nobody really know where that money goes. So we have place we can allocated some money to inject it into our economy. That's my number one point for agenda for this election is strengthening the economy of Florida. By doing so, we have to promote the importance of agriculture because we're one of the largest, one of the probably top 10 states that when it comes to agriculture. But a lot of people don't even know that because we can invest and pull money from that. And that can generate enough income to keep us afloat in some way to even put us on top as the most competitive state.
I actually wanted to delve into the very raging debate, especially in this Central Florida, over housing. What should the legislature's priorities be when it comes to securing and extending affordable housing? And in particular, as part of your answer, do you believe that the state should revisit the way Sadowski Fund money is allocated to housing? Assuming that you don't raid the fund, should they change the way it's spent on housing? And let's start with Mr. Joseph.
Yes, that's something today I was about having a discussion about this today. Affordable housing, they need to start giving contract for out-of-state companies for the state of Florida. I know is the United States, okay, because whenever they do that, to give a contract to the highest bidder, they can be in Texas, any state, they will subcontract that. So when they subcontract it, they make a cut. And then the money that was purposely for that will not go toward that. And again, we got Commissioner of Agriculture. That's where their lane is. When it comes to affordable housing, this is the lane of the Commissioner of Agriculture. I want to make sure that we have a mechanism where we can work together to start the gentrification. the redlining practice, they still institutionalize because what they do everywhere they got a big developer, they come next to a suburb. They say we want to develop, we want to do builds, we want to build affordable homes, and then they build apartments complex. So they bet for one thing, they accept the contract for another, but they do another thing. There's no accountability. We need to hold those people accountable for what they sign and what the results what they give. As long as we don't do that, there will be always corruption, and we always got less for what we pay for. Our community will always be the one suffer.
Thank you very much, Ms. Poulalion.
Hi. So I did some reading about the Sadowski Fund, and it was astonishing to me that it was rated for 19 years. And just, it's put Florida in a hole for affordable housing. But the way I read it, I felt like it was well designed. It was giving resources to people to pay their rent, and it was incentivizing developers. So I don't think we can necessarily blame the design of the bill when it really wasn't allowed to function the way it's supposed to. So, I would say, my background is I'm a research analyst. And this is the kind of question that I would dig into for hours and days to understand, because what might make sense on the surface might actually not accomplish what you want to accomplish. So that's my thinking currently until I do more research.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I wanted to ask you guys about an issue that was before the legislature last year that a lot of people paid attention to. It was known as net metering with the solar industry. For those viewers who don't know, it basically allowed power companies to reimburse residential solar owners at a lower rate. The legislature passed it. The governor vetoed it. I was wondering how you would have voted on that net metering bill. We'll start with you, Ms. Poulalion.
It's one of the few things I'm glad that the governor did, that he vetoed it, because that it takes away a good incentive for solar.
Okay, thank you very much. And Mr. Joseph?
I have solar panel in my house. So for me, I've been having solar panel for 7 years here in Seminole County. The governor vetoed it because he just don't want to give the credit to whoever the legislator that dropped that bill. I think it's a mistake, because we need to promote more of education on solar panel, power, solar energy, because we cannot be scared of approaching the new solar energy power, because the gas guzzler people that's power our house is to their detrimental. They are the one that lobby for the governor to pass that bill. And I think the governor made a mistake for veto that bill.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Chris?
Okay. I'd like to switch the discussion to something that is a mainstay of Central Florida's economy, that being tourism. In the past, the state's tourism marketing arm and its local affiliates have come under fire for being lavishly funded, and in the eye of some people, not really carrying out their mission. Do you believe that Visit Florida and the local affiliates are doing their job? And if not, what changes would you make? And let's start with Mr. Joseph.
The Visit Florida is a good initiative. I think they do what they could with what they have. I think also the penny tax is linked to that same movement to go toward the hospitalities union. So we can never do enough, but we have to take into account the setback of COVID-19. That put us back as, like, let's say 4 or 5 years where we used to go at the pace we used to go when it comes to tourism. Florida, on the paper, we're still the #1 destination for tourism. But when you look at the numbers, they not match, and they not tally to the amount of advertising we have. I think they need when it comes to the Florida, visit Florida, and other organization that's promoting tourism in Florida. I think they need more support from the government, and by any means, because without them, Florida, we one of the state, a big chunk of our income rely on tourism, on people that come visit our state. That's mean the better we promote, the better we support, the better for our state.
All right, Ms. Poulalion, same question.
So I think I would go back to kind of the same thinking with the Sadowski Fund. The idea of promoting Florida tourism makes a ton of sense. If this agency was doing a poor job, either, you know, something needs to change about the process, or there needs to be a different kind of accountability. This might be an issue of corruption that someone needs to speak out about. But I think the idea of promoting our tourism is absolutely the right thing to do. So thank you for the question.
Thank you very much. Okay, I actually one of the issues that has been tied to tourism in an unfortunate way is the growing crisis in the Indian River Lagoon. At times, the lagoon's appearance has been compared to guacamole. What more should the state be doing through laws and through money to address what's going on in the Indian River Lagoon? And if you could be specific about what you think should be priorities. And we'll start with Ms. Poulalion.
So I have to tell you, I want to say hyper local, but I'm extremely local. I can tell you of almost every bend and every river in Seminole County. I don't know exactly what the underlying issues are for the Indian River Lagoon. You know, and again, in my career, in my practice, we would say, well, you need to do a root cause analysis, you need to do a fish boning and ask why, until you figure out where the problem lies. Maybe it's upstream, maybe it's coming, you know, through the runoff. So I guess my answer would be research. That, you know, if Florida is lacking funding or knowledge of what to do, then they need to fund some research to get the right answers. Just doing something because you want to say, I need to do something right now, is likely to be a waste of money. So my answer is research.
Thank you very much. Mr. Joseph?
Yes, for this, we got the park and recreations. What I wonder, because the lagoon, I wonder why we don't recruit some part of the river to fall under the park and recreation, national park and recreation. That was the best conservative method that already got a budget. We got all rivers, all lake in Florida. They fall under the park and recreation, and they need to make sure they put restriction for aggressive home builders or developers to stay away certain kilometers away from the lagoon, because the more people come in to build, the more we're gonna have issue with the lagoon, and the more price gonna be gouging, the more it's gonna be unlivable, and then we're gonna pollute the lagoon. Once one lagoon pollute, it's gonna spread because all the water connected. I think if I am elected, I will highly suggest we bring all those waterways some sort under the Park and Recreation, National Park and Recreation Services, because they have the best to deal with preservation.
Well, thank you very much. All right. I would like to ask something that has been in the news for the last 12 hours or so. This morning, the governor suspended the state attorney in Hillsborough County, who said that he would not enforce the recent laws, or any future laws actually, addressing abortion and what is known as gender affirming care or medical treatment for people who are transgender. This is not the first time that the governor has stepped into a realm where traditionally Florida's governor has not exercised that much authority. What, if anything, should the legislature be doing to either push back or support, if you feel it should be supported, the governor's expansion of the executive branch power? And let's start with Mr. Joseph.
That's the pushback. We must do what is right. And anytime when nobody's watching, whenever it's not our interest. The governor is not the president. He's the governor of the state. I don't want him to misconception where he has exactly the same power with the president of the United States. It's a limited power, but this is overreaching. That's where the Florida Supreme Court will come to step before the legislators step in. If the Supreme Court cannot, because the governor do not have power over the Supreme Court of Florida. So whether the Florida Senate or the Florida House, both need to come, not really to push back. If you push back, you're in a weaker position. To really support, to stand up to the governor outreach, to let him know this is not an autocratic government. This is not, we're living in a democracy. You cannot do as you please. You cannot do as you want just because you're not happy.
Thank you. Ms. Poulalion, same question.
So I think one of the reasons that I wanted to run for office is I feel like our governor has a rubber stamp and feels empowered to do whatever he wants in a very targeted way. And he behaves like the kind of dictator that I believe my opponent is just run away from. And, you know, as a House representative, if we don't have enough votes to change the things that he's doing, we do have a voice to speak out about it. But it is one of the things that is really disturbing about having a governor that is willing to use his power instead of influence or other, you know, means.
Thank you very much. Chris, if it's all right, we can start to wrap things up.
That's what I was about to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks both of you all for being here. We're running at the end of our time. I know Mr. Joseph.
Actually, we're going to have our closing statements.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know Mr. Joseph's got more doors to knock on since he's right there. But we wanted to wind up by letting each of you have a minute or so just to make your case to voters for why they think they should pick you. And Ms. Poulalion, we can start with you.
All right, thank you. Well, I just want to kind of reiterate who I am. So my name is Deborah Poulalion, and I'm running for Florida House District 36. I'm a data analyst. I'm a voting rights advocate. I'm a mother who wants to stop the political drama in Tallahassee and address the real problems. I've lived in Seminole County in House District 36 for 30 years, and I've raised my two sons here. I love Seminole County. I love the trees, I love the lakes, and I love the rivers. I'm grateful to the schools and the teachers who have educated my children. I love our businesses, and I love each of our very unique cities. And my goal is to make sure that the needs and concerns of my district are fully represented in Tallahassee, because House District 36 is my priority and it is my home. So some of the things that reasons I think you should vote for me are, I'm going to talk about two things. One is my professional background and the other is my community involvement. So as I mentioned, I'm a data analyst. I work for a company that does certification for internal auditing. I'm really a geek. I'm proud of it. I own it. I love spreadsheets. I love analyzing. I have my internal audit practitioner designation. I have a master's degree in mass communication. I actually taught at Seminole State in Valencia in the journalism area. And I'm a ghostwriter. I've written several full-length nonfiction books. So these kinds of skills, business, research, and communications, would make me a very effective member of the Florida House of Representatives. I also want to talk about my community involvement. I've worked to have early voting at Seminole State College, better voter information in Spanish, protecting the rural boundary in the Econ-Lacatchie River. I have personal relationships with our electeds. And most important to me, and Rod's been doing it too today, is that I have talked to thousands of people. I have knocked on doors. I'm at festivals. I'm at farmers markets. I'm in parades. And every time I do, it actually makes me a better person. And it makes me care more about being a good leader. So again, my name is Deborah Poulalion. I'm running for Florida House District 36. Thank you for considering your vote for me.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Joseph.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Rod Joseph, and I'm a combat veteran, a Purple Heart recipient. I'm a husband, a father, and I'm a father of 4 great sons and 1 daughter. So I got 2 sons currently serving in the Marines. I am also what make me best picked for this job. I have a master's in diplomacy and military studies, so I know how to negotiate. I know how to go across the aisle to sit with my enemy. I sit down across talking with Al-Qaeda members. I sit with Akani Network. I negotiate with them. I was part of the negotiation team for Baghdad in Afghanistan in 2012. So I know, my background, I spent 13 years as a paralegal in the JACO in the United States Army. So I know the legal system, the in and out. And as a logistic officers, I lead soldiers. That's what I do. Bring the best out of my soldiers and make sure everybody be part of the team. I know how to reach out to Mango, to make people working as one unit. I can have 100 people work, all of them focused to work as one unit. For me, as an immigrant, I'm proud to say I serve this country. I pay my due. And I also put myself in service away from my family, as I did for the last 20 years, to continue serving my community. I love Seminole County. I love District 36, the Bernie District. I want to make sure that all the districts that have been in disarray, affected by high cost price for housing, and affected by foreclosures. I am the guy. If you want somebody that can go to Tallahassee to get things done, I am that guy that's going to push for education, diversity, and I am vote for Rod Joseph. You will not be regret. And next year, you come back to vote for me again.
Thank you very much. It's been really enjoyable spending time with you both. Just to remind everybody, this race will be on the August 23rd ballot for Democratic residents of District 36.